quite simple. I mean, happiness is relative, it's subjective, and humans adapt. But the fact that we have a large portion of the younger generation of men, their NEETs, not in employment, education, and training, is indicative of a failure of our society towards men.
Yeah.
Women are more likely to go to university and graduate than men by like what? It's like 60-40 now?
But their suicide rates are up as well, right? I would say I mean, men are better at everything, so that's why we kill ourselves more, because we're better at it. And they're more likely to do, I mean, people always bring up gun deaths, right? Like, I think half of them, there's like 13,000 of them per year. Liberals will complain about this. And like gun, yeah, most of them are suicides. And like, if you have a gun, it's easier. And women tend to do things like what? Like wrist stuff, pills, things that you can recover from. And I think like it's one of those things where people are unhappier in the trends right now because of what you're talking about, because you look at your boomer dad and your Gen X dad, and it's like, well, what the fuck? Like, you got all these opportunities, and I don't get any of these, and there's all these expectations. It's like, what's the big lie of like, just go to college, you'll be successful, and like...
So what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I've been gone for a couple days. I'm back. So Tim Pool, again, is going to get roasted. The thing about young progressives is that they are actually passionate about what they're talking about, and a lot of, I don't want to say they're not paid. I don't want to say they're not paid, but Tim Pool's been in the game for a while. He fenced it for so long. And then, you know, first with the Russian money, and then, you know, when that happened and he threw Lauren Chen under the bus, then you found out he met with Netanyahu, but he keeps this beanie hat on as though he's like he's hip, man. he's so hip. Anyway, so in this clip, Tim Pool is going to get dismantled by what he would call soy boys, but in fact, people who just have at least more heart than he does. I would say that. I would definitely say that. So let's watch this delicious clip of Tim Pool getting destroyed on his own show.
I graduated college. I was one of the lucky ones. A lot of people just didn't get jobs out of college. They're struggling. I can't afford a house. The only people I know in my generation, I'm 29, that have a house are the two engineers that got married. And even then, they're not in California. They're in like Colorado. They're in, you know, some other place where the cost of living is much easier. So like, I think this idea that this is because of the, you know, demonization of men is not nearly so borne out as it is people had this expectation of what life was supposed to be, and it's just not happening. And so all these, like, as a whole, society in our generation is more unhappy because we're not getting what we want. We don't have the house. We don't have the white picket fence.
So once again, the issue is if you're an 18-year-old white man and you grew up in a society, you've experienced no privilege.
Why do you say that? No privilege. Like when I say because you don't have the Gen X privilege, right? You don't have that economy. But what it's like, hey, like, because again, I hate the word privilege here because it's like you don't feel the idea of black people are your cops are less likely to attack you
because that's not right. Because what I would say is the challenge with what you're describing is it's based on class for the most part. It's with sometimes a racial component.
I was reading a study actually from, I want to say this is it's on a book called How Fascism Works, which is like the most liberal book I could have brought up here. But it was talking about the hiring practices of people who report themselves as former convicts. And it was like black versus white, not a former convict, black versus white, former convict. And for like the black who are not a former convict, the percentage of whether or not you get hired is already like 10 times lower or something ridiculously low. And then for the black convict level, even the white former convicts were getting like hired at like a 10 to 5% higher rate. It does seem like there is at least this product of, and that, people call that privilege. I don't like that because if I'm a white guy not getting hired, I don't feel privileged, right? That's why I don't like the word.
So the issue is there's no such thing as white privilege. That is a fact statement, not an opinion.
What do you mean by that? Because what I just described is what people mean. Because I think that's a bad word.
Because you can when you're trying to determine any kind of like fact basis in science, we look for controls. And when you look at any other non-white nation, these concepts don't exist. However,
we're a unique nation. The history
meaninless.
Of racism.
Similar.
No, I'm saying it's meaningless.
So if I finish the point that I'm trying to make, instead of you interrupting before the point can be completed,
okay.
The Han Chinese.
He gets so worked up. Isn't it funny? Him and what I'm noticing is mascara. Is that mascara? Is everybody wearing mascara these days? Like I noticed that on Steven Crowder. Definitely JD Vance has mascara on. It looks like mascara. By the way, guys, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you to every eye that lands on these videos. I mean, like, yeah, like, I don't know what's going on with him, but he gets so worked up. Like, okay, calm down. It's because your points are easily destroyable, so the kid can't wait to start talking again. Relax, Chief. Just calm down.
For instance, have an ethnic majority and supremacy, and they experience what one would define as a privilege.
Okay.
But it's not because It's white privilege.
Yeah, it's Han privilege, sure.
It's just majority privilege. A nation's ethnic and cultural majority tends to dictate what they want and what they expect.
Okay.
That will never go away nor change.
Well, I think it can change. I think if expectations change, but you just described it. The point is,
so the point that I was making,
you're agreeing with the concept, which
there's no white privilege. And if you are a Gen Z white man, you've never experienced such a thing. So when they say, you know, white guys would go and apply for a job, they get it. And now a 17-year-old white guy applies and they go, no white people, get out. And he goes, there's no privilege because there isn't.
No white people? I'm sure this has happened before, but like, is there like a massive influx of people like we don't hire white people? I mean, first of all, it's literally illegal, right?
It should be, but this is typically what the left supports. So we interviewed a pro skateboarder
supporting the idea of we can't hire white men. Like,
absolutely,
they're supporting the idea of like I worked at
Floyd era went in the to people of color to women in the S&P 100 or something.
Boosting a marginalized group is not the same as saying no white men. If there are people that say you cannot hire white men,
it is a matter of
because
policy.
You're assuming it's a
illegal
zero-sum
to
game.
hire white men.
Yeah, no. Wait, what? It's illegal to hire white men.
If he started a company and all he were hiring were white men, T-minus what until a lawsuit comes in? They would be investigated. You cannot start an S&P 100 company or some serious company without hiring at least some women, some minorities. So it's illegal to hire based on merit, which yes, in practice makes
that's
it
not illegal to be hired
men.
based on merit. First of all, because the idea that because you're describing it like they just found a black woman on the street and they're like get in here, right? Versus like hey, when you look at a pool of qualified candidates, you can't select one race, which is a very different thing. And it's not a zero-sum game. You have a bunch of different slots. If it was one slot and you're like for this one job, you can't hire a white guy. I think like the only thing that would ever make sense for that is if you're like casting for a show and it's this character's black, right?
But it is a fact that this happens. That white guys are passed over.
Right, but you're describing it as a phenomenon that is so widespread that every 18-year-old zillennial is experiencing this, which is, at least in my experience, is like growing up in this progressive area, in the most progressive place on the planet. This is not happening. I'm not getting discriminated against for being white. Like I said, I'll get some insults here or there, but it's not
It's called being discriminated against for being white, yeah.
So I also want to, because Tim Pool is such a nut, he would never, ever, ever make the point that I'm about to make here. You gotta be careful. And look, this is it is reality. We speak reality on this channel. I would have to find out if this kid was white or Jewish. Jewish people are considered a minority in this country now, so that's how I don't understand why black people fight so hard for DEI and affirmative action. I know somebody listening to this is probably, whoa, what is this girl saying? Nah, just stick with me. A black man is always going to get looked over for the job too. The white man will be the first one to get looked over, but the black man is the next one because they have to get more women. They have to get more, LGBT. And now they have to get more Jewish people. So, there is a part of this conversation that people don't want to have, okay? And that's what I'm kind of seeing happening here. Of course, Tim Pool's not going to it's just a simple point to make. It's not that big of a deal, right? But we know that Tim isn't going to do it. I don't know if I said to like and subscribe. I'll say it again. It wouldn't hurt, right? Please like and subscribe if you do like this clip, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, sure, but not on an institutional level for jobs. Like, no
How would
one's
you
like,
know?
we're not
What are you
hiring.
comparing it to?
I'm comparing it to like every other white person that I graduated with, like all the white people around me. Like none of these people are
Generations
struggling.
don't experience the same thing as the other generation. Like literally Gen Z men are struggling.
I am in Gen Z technically, and I grow up around, I hang out with a lot of younger people because I had a deferred college like graduation. So.
Would you agree that Gen Z men are struggling?
Yes, absolutely, but I don't think it's because of white men discrimination.
I didn't say it was. It's a component.
Yeah.
The point is when the left comes out and says we want affirmative action in hiring and colleges and public contracting, the 17 or 18-year-old white man is going, whatever it is you think boomers got, I don't have. I don't get. So when you create a racially discriminatory system, you have created a privilege for certain classes of people.
Yeah, in that specific thing, yeah, absolutely. And this is what I was talking about. Like, you don't, even if, like, just for a second, assume that the phenomenon that we both agree exists is called white privilege, just because that's what people call it. It exists insofar as, like, yeah, this person might be preferenced in this specific area, or, you might not just face the same problem as a black person here, but you don't experience white privilege. You don't. I don't feel the absence of something. Well, you agree the majority group in control is going to have some sort of like in-group preference for that same.
Which for the past 15, 20 years has been liberal left. So they're white critical.
To an extent. I mean, our country is not like a liberal left majority ruled by, they're not like the majority.
When Jack Dorsey was in charge of X, for instance, if you post FBI crime stats, you'd get banned.
I'm sorry. Your example of whether or not white men or liberals are in control is just Twitter not allowing like.
Perhaps I could describe it as Facebook, YouTube, and X, the 3 largest social media platforms in the country
social
and the
media
world,
is a big component of our
banning
lives,
people
but-
for posting fact data because it was deemed racist.
Yeah, but that's not just posting the fact data. Almost if you're posting like 1350 stuff, it's because you're trying to paint a greater narrative of, black people have a crime gene or something.
So, so you're not disagreeing with me?
I'm saying that if you're using the example of like, oh, look at our institutions and how they're overwhelmingly liberal. If you're talking about social media, yeah, they were for a while. I think that has since shifted, obviously, especially
and major
Twitter.
cities, institutions are liberal as well.
Major cities, yeah. But if you're talking about like the country as a whole, jobs, like all these places, this is not like everything everywhere. Like it is absolutely part of it, 100%. And like half the country, sure, is like liberal, progressive, not progressive, liberal at the very least. But the idea that like that is the same as saying like a white majority in group is just not like borne out. There's not like, I guess you might say like certain people might discriminate against your politics in certain areas. Definitely in San Francisco, I've had people who are, MAGA leaning at the least. But like, that is not the same as like a white in-group preference. This does exist.
This is not there's not a debate on this issue. This is a fact statement that we had Supreme Court hearings over as to liberal institutions not admitting hiring white people.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Now,
You're saying, does this happen? I'm saying, yeah, obviously. I'm saying this is not the widespread concept of America, is this in-group privilege for white liberal progressives or liberal progressives. Like, I just don't think that's...
So basically, I just feel like this kid basically danced Tim Pool around his own his own podcast and just let him pretty much just destroy himself. I don't agree with everything he's saying, and they're not really having the real conversation, but that usually typically happens on these kind of shows. Anyway, I guess at the end of the day, I'll just say, but it is fun to watch. Tim Pool doesn't, like, this kid really is, regardless of, I don't have to agree with everything he says to say that he's a good debater. He's certainly a good debater. He's ready. I don't know if that's dandruff on his shirt. I don't think it is. That'd be crazy, right? Maybe Steve probably like ran into something, but Tim Pool is tired. I mean, he's just like, okay, don't cut me off now. I'm trying to keep up, okay? Anyway, it was fun to watch. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.